to Fremantle Council. Thanks, Sam.
I think the repeated attempts by Minister Buswell to close the Tier 3 railway lines are a good place to start for a number of reasons. First, it's kind of dear to my heart, given that Fremantle was the first metropolitan council to join the Wheatbelt Rail Retention Alliance, and I'll have to acknowledge Ken for actually bringing this sort of unusual coalition together of Greenies and lefties from Fremantle sitting at the same table with, you know, lifelong National Party and Farmers Federation people on a common cause, and real life politics is like that. When an issue is important enough, that's what you need to do. I think the case of the Tier 3 closure is important for two other reasons as well. One, it exemplifies what was wrong, absolutely wrong, about the theft of resources that belong to the people of Western Australia when they were privatised, and the fact that that infrastructure has to be brought back under public ownership. The same thing happened in Victoria, Tasmania and New Zealand, and in all three cases we had the same thing. The assets were run down. We had a private operator who actually tried to block other people from using the rail network, and the state had to take it back on again. It's also interesting because it typifies, I think, what is wrong about a lot of what is called transport planning in this state and in this country. At first glance, that's pretty obvious. Spend $93 million to keep the railway going, or what Mr Buswell wants to do, spend over $100 million to put the same grain onto road instead. But that's only the beginning of the problem. There has been no attempt whatsoever to measure the true overall cost, the costs that are externalised onto the community environment. And I've just attempted a bit of a sort of back in an envelope assessment of some of those extra costs, which figure nowhere in the government's calculations. Road accident trauma, greenhouse gas emissions, diesel particulate pollution, reduced amenity in country towns, loss of the existing capital that's embedded in those Tier 3 rail networks, which I say belongs to us morally, if not legally. The life of capital invested in rail is far greater than that invested in road. The demand for new road infrastructure that's going to be created in the city as a consequence of all these new truck movements and so on. That's the tragedy of the thing. No real cost-benefit ratio analysis has been attempted of this thing by the state government. And what is the real cost of this decision? I don't know. Is it $1 billion? $2 billion? Nobody knows. That's the whole point. It's mind-boggling that a government could propose to close 720 kilometres of rail line without doing a proper cost-benefit ratio analysis. And it typifies the fact that a lot of what we call transport planning since the Second World War in this country has really been a big, elaborate attempt to both create and then sustain auto dependency, and also to funnel vast amounts of taxpayers' money to the auto industry and road construction industry, rather than real transport planning. Road construction projects don't need to justify themselves with a proper cost-benefit ratio analysis. It's enough for main roads just to say, oh, the road's clogged, we need to expand it. And of course that's flawed on two counts. First, the increased traffic would be better captured by other forms of transport. But secondly, it's fatally flawed because increasing road capacity induces more traffic. It causes congestion. It doesn't solve it. So expanding road capacity to deal with congestion is like trying to deal with obesity by loosening your belt. It makes the underlying cause of the problem worse. And that typifies the majority of our so-called transport policy. So I welcome the public transport auction that's starting to take place in WA politics. It's a fantastic thing. I welcome the Greens light rail proposal, Labor's Metronet, and even Mr Buswell's light rail if it ever happens. I mean, we can quibble about the details, but in truth all these things need to be built. But we've still got a long way to go in the debate, and that's demonstrated by the fact that people still talk about, is it affordable? Is this public transport project affordable? Has it been costed? But can we afford not to? That's the point. The state government is planning to spend $1 billion on the Perth Gateway project as we speak. There's no discussion about whether that's affordable. And the point is that investing in sustainable transport saves us money. Every voyage shifted from car to walking, bicycle, public transport saves the public's purse. I've got some statistics up there that bear that out. In actual fact, if you look at the saving to the public purse, you can make a strong argument that making public transport free will actually save the public purse even more. And that's been demonstrated in some cities, such as Hasselt in Belgium. But it's just as true for freight on rail, but we've got a lot further to go with that argument. The argument against putting more freight onto rail is that, look, 70% of the freight coming into Fremantle goes to Greater Perth. It won't work. Well, that's if you accept the current confines of the way our freight distribution system works. But it can work if we had an arc of 6 or so intermodal hubs. The freight went there, and then you co-located your freight forwarding companies, your container yards at those places, then yes, it could work. It's a choice. Do you want to spend $1 billion on the Perth Gateway project, $1 billion on turning Stock Road and High Road into a freeway, or do you want to spend that into freight on rail? Just to finish up, I wanted to return to the issue of public transport and just make the point that public transport is not just an urban planning environmental issue, it's a social justice issue. In even our wealthiest suburbs, 30% of the population can't drive. Disability, health, age, whatever. I'm ashamed to say that that's at the intersection of South Street and Carrington Street here in Fremantle. Can you imagine, you can't really see the steepness of the road there probably in that slide, but can you imagine trying to negotiate that bus stop in a wheelchair on a 40-degree day or the pouring rain? So as long as that persists, we are treating a third of our population as second-class citizens. We can do a whole lot better.
Our final speaker before